What's happening, guys? Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, we're going to wrap up free agency for the most part. Uh, a big week and a big return for my co-host. You know him as the man of the hour and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. What is going on?
It is another beautiful week that I get to spend talking football with you, Mr. Young. How in the absolute hell have you been?
I am good, sir. The Deshawn Watson news has closed.
Has been settled.
We're going to talk about that here in just a couple of minutes as we wrap up free agency. We're going to hit you with some dynasty winners and losers at the end of the show. But, I mean, I feel good. I feel really good. This is going to be our last show really talking about veterans. Starting next week, I'm working on getting some guests from behind the scenes here. Talking rookies, man. It is rookie time. It is almost April. As we record next week, it'll be the 30th of March, which might as well be April, right? We're going to round up.
Yep.
And April's NFL draft season, baby.
And is there a better time in our field? I say no.
Here's the thing. From September 1st to, I guess, February 1st, we'll say, it's redraft. Dynasty is redraft, and redraft is dynasty for the most part. There's still – the trades are much more impactful and have much more longer-lasting repercussions in a dynasty than redraft. But really the game's the same. You're setting your lineup, you're making the occasional deal, and you're enjoying the games. But this is where the strategy comes in. Trade season, you and I got a trade done today.
We did.
You got a couple of other trades done today. So, yeah, this is a great time. There's a few pockets, and you can tell me what you think. There's a few pockets that really spur action in especially older, more established dynasty leagues. Free agency period, right before and right after the NFL draft, right before your rookie draft, training camp, and then in season, as you know, as teams are contending or falling out of contention. Those are the 4 or 5, maybe 6 good windows for action in an old school established dynasty league. Thoughts?
I think you're right. I think, honestly, right now is probably peak trading season. From now until April 26th or whenever the day before the draft is when everybody is gaining picks or just sort of re-looking at the roster. Because, you know, once the Super Bowl happens, it's like everybody shuts down for a week or so. And then, you know, the degenerates that just can't look away from their phones like myself and like you know, we start trickling back into it. But right now it's getting hot and heavy. Now, you know, now we think we can get the prettiest girl or guy at the bar and we're trying to get him. We haven't been taken down a peg or two. I mean, you took me down a peg or two in the trade we took, but, you know, that's what you do.
You know, I was debating discussing that on the show. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to wait and discuss that after the live stream ends. And we're probably going to post that for our patrons over at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. A little something behind the scenes for those that support us. But YouTube channel, if you want to support us and you're maybe not interested in being a patron, well, okay, go to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like a video, give us a thumbs up, go to YouTube. Go to iTunes, go to Spotify, leave a review on the show. These are all ways to support us. And we have a lot of shows. We have the Dynasty War Games with Chad, Jesse, and Mike. Fantasy Football Smackdown with Kyle and a musical chairs edition of co-hosts from time to time. Our man Dallas. Now I'm gonna take the L for Monday's no rookie rundown, Jerry. I'm taking that L because I'm old. And I can no longer stay up till 11:30 at night to edit podcast. So Dallas sent me the file at 11:20 Sunday evening. And when I got up at Monday morning, I was like, yep, that's going on Friday. Friday bonus with Dallas, rookie rundown. So good thing is if you're here on Wednesday, you have something to look forward to on Thursday and Friday. So all that's available on the podcast feed and over at YouTube, Jerry. So what do you know about that?
I mean, it's free. It's the algorithm. We need the algorithm to be in our favor. And it's ready. Listen, I got the mic right here. Done. It's one button. Just help us out as best you can. But Randy, speaking of the YouTube, you know, we got We got some people in the chat already. Mike and David are always homies that are always there, but we got a question from J Ray, so I'm gonna throw it at you because it's two people that get your pants tighter than just about any two other players in Dynasty. PPR Dynasty, Terry McLaurin and Deontay Johnson.
For me, my heart wants to say Terry McLaurin, but my mind says Deontay Johnson. I don't think Chase Claypool's a thing. I don't think Chase Claypool's ever going to be a thing. I think
he's going to be 3 times a week or 3 times a season,
well,
whenever that's going to be.
And you stole the words out of my mouth. We're currently doing a content providers league, and we are doing that Dynasty Best Ball. Now, if you wanted to take a flyer on Chase Claypool as like your wide receiver 4 or 5, cool.
Yeah,
but the reason why I think Deontay Johnson's the guy there is just Mitch Trubisky works in that area of operation, same play caller, and Deontay Johnson's good at football, so it's a volume play. Now, I want to believe in McLaurin. I want to believe in Carson Wentz, but I just got to give the slight nod. I will give a slight spoiler. So on Monday, because I've been waiting, goddamn Deshaun Watson. I've been waiting for Deshaun Watson to land so we could get these final pieces of the puzzle so I could update my rankings, because the only place I do rankings is over at Patreon, because our patrons love rankings. I love our Patreons. It's a give relationship here, because I hate doing them. And I do have Deontay Johnson 4 spots higher than Terry McLaurin. So in a vacuum, they're not that far apart in age. I think a year, 18 months-ish. But I'm going to lean Johnson ever so slightly. What about you?
I mean, I think that Carson Wentz is good for Terry McLaurin, but I think Deontay Johnson's just in a better situation. It's Deontay Johnson for me pretty easy, and I have never really been on the Deontay Johnson train, and I have been on the Terry McLaurin train. It's just, I think he's just in such a conducive situation to be successful. So it's pretty easy for me, but I also like Terry. So I'm not mad at anybody if they're going to go that route either.
All right. Well, the questions are coming in. We'll try to get to a couple at the end of the show. But Jerry, we actually have a good person with a bad tweet. Now, this really is a good person, very well known in the Dynasty and fantasy space. It is Mr. Kyle Yates. At Kyle Y NFL. We're all familiar with Kyle. Former Fantasy Pros guy, now has his own hustle. Make sure you're out supporting him as he goes solo and is trying to take his content creation out on his own. But Mr. Yates on March 17th tweeted, "Yeah, you all can have your late 2023 firsts. I'll take Allen Robinson on the Rams. Thank you." And I'll tell you my reaction first, and then I'll let you go.
Yep.
I was like, what? What did you say? I know Kyle Moore from his redraft work. I know he was doing a Dynasty show with good homie of this podcast, Mr. Ray Garvin, for a while. But that's a bad take. There is I don't care if you're a contender or not. So we just looked over wide receiver rankings right now for Dynasty. There are so many guys you can get in that range that you would not have to give a first for. Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, those two just pop in. DeAndre Hopkins. These are all guys that I would not give a 2023 first for. I just would not. I'm not into giving 29, 30-year-old wide receivers my first round picks for those guys, because what feels good today is not going to feel good 12 months from now. Because when you give up even a quote unquote late 20, Jerry, how many times have you thought a late 2023 or a late pick the following year was going to be a late pick that wound up being like a top 5?
It happens a lot more than you think.
And how do you feel when draft day comes around and you no longer have that 105, 106, 107, 108, even if it's the 110. But you've got a 30
one of the stupidest people in truth.
But you've got a 30-year-old wide receiver on his third team who's not even the number 1 wide receiver on his third team.
No, not even close. Not even close to the number one wide receiver either.
And if Odell Beckham comes back, there's no guarantee he's even the second wide receiver. Go ahead.
I think it was a very, very good move for the Rams. Let me say that. As far as an NFL offense, good job. I knew that this was going to be some serious shit when Randy added me and said, good people, bad tweets in the tweet. Because normally he's very secretive about it. He doesn't tell me, or I at him so he can write it down because he's old and forgetful. When he added me, I knew it pissed him off when he first saw it. I'm with you. I'm not spending
it's just there's no faster way, and I totally respect Kyle. Like I said, I followed him for years. A lot of good stuff that he puts out. This is the kind of advice that sinks dynasty rosters. I mean, I wouldn't give. There's no way. And Jerry, how long have you been playing? Well, we've been doing the podcast for almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And how long you've been playing in leagues with me, going back to the Dynasty Football Factory days. Have you ever known me to be a youth chaser?
Not really, no.
Have you ever known me to be a pick hoarder?
No.
So I just want to make sure that I put those credentials out there when I say this is I love winning with old crusty guys. I have no problem with you picking up Allen Robinson, but you just go down the wide receiver list right now in the NFL, and the NCAA is getting ready to give us 4 to 6 more good ones every year, and just going to squeeze guys like this out. You just can't do it, gang. Especially in a super flex league, can you be giving up 20, 23 first? There's already a couple of quarterbacks everybody likes. I'm not even a Devy guy. Outside of the big running back out of Texas and the 2 quarterbacks, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, I really couldn't name another 2023 player. But I know that I want those goddamn draft picks.
Yeah. Well, those draft picks aren't going to get massages inappropriately or anything. They're always going to accrue value, my friend.
I'm not worried about that with Allen Robinson.
Well, I know.
But what's going to be worth more in a year?
So let me say this.
Or that third.
You mentioned the content creator draft that we're doing right now. We are in. I just made my first pick at 10.7. Allen Robinson is still available. None of us have taken him. Now, I took Christian Watson with that pick, the upcoming rookie. Is he a first rounder? I don't know if he is.
He's borderline.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, we'll see.
And I don't want to tip my mitt because this is a best ball league, but I will make 2 bets with you, not one but 2, but you can impact this, and a lot of these people listen to this show. But I'm going to make two bets with you right now. One, I can get Adam Thielen, who's a little bit older than Allen Robinson, considerably later in this draft. That's one. Sure. And number 2, Adam Thielen will outscore Allen Robinson in this upcoming season. Also so I can get a guy cheaper and that plays in as good, if not a better offense. And yes, he'll be the 2, but I know he's the 2. And I know Adam Thielen last year was playing as a wide receiver 1 before he got hurt. Because I know that him getting hurt and falling off caused me to get a second place finish in a league that had maybe he continued on that pace. Could you think you could get Amari Cooper cheaper than Allen Robinson?
I don't know. Not with Deshaun Watson news, I don't think. But just to build on the Allen Robinson, we've already taken good people. This is one of the longest conversations we've had about good people, bad tweets.
Well, it's got like branches.
Yeah. So, when I'm in group messages with a bunch of people, and my friends text me when Allen Robinson signs with the Rams. We're all Lions fans, so it's all we circle jerk Stafford quite a bit. So they started talking about Dynasty because I'm in Dynasty leagues with them and Allen Robinson and blah, 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 blah. And I said I'd be shocked if he cracked 800 yards. So am I going to pay a first for 800 yards in a 17-game season? No, I'm not, because I think that dude is easily third fiddle, and that's not counting a run game that should be pretty effective with the 2 guys they got. So
I'm just going to use my rankings because my rankings are the ones that matter, let's be honest. I'm just looking at this pocket without giving actual numbers, but just guys in that Allen Robinson range that I think I can get cheaper. Cortland Sutton, Maybe Sutton gets a bit of a bump with the Russell Wilson news. Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper. These are all guys that I can get similar-ish production with similar-ish roles at significantly less value. This is why you can't give up
Michael Gallup contract for 5 years and is like 26.
I know you don't want to hear this. I have Marquise Brown in that range. Just a lot of guys that
down there in the Allen Robinson range.
Yeah, I'm not.
I will drive to Indianapolis and headbutt you right now.
You know? Do you need directions? Anyway, we could keep this up. Just don't be trading. The bottom line is don't be trading your 2023 first for 27-year-old running backs, 29, 30-year-old wide receivers. You're going to look back in a year because your first-round picks, I'll leave it at this, they are the lifeblood of how you grow a dynasty roster.
Bingo. Whether you pick them or not.
Whether you pick them or not, whether you trade them for a guy who stocks down maybe going into year 2 or year 3 for that rookie pick, or you actually make the pick and hit the pick. You will not regret having that 2023 first. I just do not see a scenario, even if he has a great season, 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns, where you're still not going to regret this time next year having Amari Cooper. Having Allen, because they're all the same guy. They're all the same fucking guy. All right, anyway, so that was good people, bad tweets. Jerry, that's brought to you by our Patreon, patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. And we just wrapped up Patreon 13. It is in the books. We'll be doing 14 soon. And one thing we're going to do, so Jerry, I'm going back to Canton. Jerry has yet to confirm. He's got some grad school stuff going on.
Yeah, I got to know where I'm going to live first. I'll still probably be there. I just need to know.
I think that's a bullshit.
How much driving I'm going to have to do.
Jerry, you have the car. You are with means. And we want to do a patron. So I was talking, did a podcast with one of our patrons, Chris, the other day. And he wants to do an auction. He wants to do a patron auction. And I was like, right now with my lifestyle, I am the worst person to be in a draft with. Like we're doing this startup I've referenced a couple of times. Mm-hmm. One of the guys in there's got to text me like 4 times a day. He's like, "Hey, dude, you're up." I'm like, "Man, I'm at work. As soon as I get 5 seconds, I'll do it." So in an auction, I'm even worse. But I would love to do a live in-person patron podcast auction league at Canton. I think that would be awesome. I think we get together at the DWZ house. Yeah, that's going to be a thing. And we do a live auction. But anyway, that's all the kinds of stuff we do with the patrons. It's $5 a month. It's nothing flashy. It's not super expensive. It's a great group chat. You hear the commercials to start the show, actual patrons who are members of this group that just really enjoy the camaraderie, the leagues, the fellowship. So if that's what you're into, and you're into advice from both not only me, but sometimes Jerry, and the collective IQ of the group, patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. It's great for startup season. It's great for rookie season. It's great for the summer when your group chat is dead. A lot of benefits for not a lot of bucks. Patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. Jerry, let's get into some winners and losers, but a little bit of free agency news. So let's start with the big one, the one that we were waiting on, Deshaun Watson. Immediate thoughts.
It didn't matter where Deshaun Watson went. I was still going to be happy because I have a lot of Deshaun Watson and I just need him to play because I think he is an elite talent. I think he's going to be good wherever he goes. Happy to see it. Glad it's done with. And just like we said in the preceding weeks, the moment it happened, the rest of the dominoes were going to start to fall, and they have for the most part, unless your name is Baker Mayfield.
Well, before I give you my review here, what are your thoughts on Baker?
I traded for him today. I think it's the only share I have of him. I think. Do you not? I mean, I would assume he's going to end up with a job, probably Seattle. I mean, I don't. Do you think he's not?
I will start with Deshaun Watson. I still believe that there's probably a suspension inbound. The historical precedent is 6 to 8 games. You know, that's the Big Ben, Ezekiel Elliott corollary. Kareem Hunt on camera putting the boots to a woman got 8. So somewhere between 6 to 8 feels right. But I was listening to Peter King on a podcast, famous football journalist. He was talking about how the NFL is not super thrilled that Deshaun Watson set up his contract for 2022 to where his base salary is $1 million.
Yeah.
So if he misses games, he'll get like a $55,000 per game missed fine. So what he thinks could happen is they could let him play all season, let the 22 civil cases come down, and then hit him with the hammer in 2023 when his base salary is $46 million, and those 6 to 8 games become much more punitive for Mr. Watson. But from a dynasty standpoint, he's back in my top 5. As a matter of fact, he is number 5. And
that's about right.
Here's the thing. I play in leagues with people who do. I traded for him in the league just as the news broke. And one GM in the league said, "Hey, good for you for getting him off your roster." I kind of get that.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm playing fantasy football.
Correct.
I'm not hanging out with the guy. He's not in my social circle. He's not coming over to hang out with my kids. He's a football player who helps me win a game about fake football with fake points. That's all I can.
I have Joe Mixon too. I have teams with Tyreek Hill too.
I can compartmentalize Deshaun Watson, the human being, and Deshaun Watson, the dynasty and fantasy football asset. That's what I have to do because I play a game to win.
Like we talk about poker a lot on this show. Phil Hellmuth can sometimes be a dick if you've ever watched Phil Hellmuth on a stream playing poker. But if you don't watch the man and learn from the ways that he plays the game, you're not going to get better because he is very good. We do a Dynasty podcast. I play Dynasty fantasy football. I care about the points. Yes, there is a moral aspect, and like you said, I'm not hanging out with the man. Do I think he's a slime ball? Yes, I do. And I think that is toxic behavior, and don't be a shit human. What is the one rule we've always said for the 4 years we've been here? Rule number 1 is don't be a dick. I mean, he did not listen to that rule literally or figuratively. But I'm here because I want to rub your face in defeat. I want to rub, even our Patreons. I want to embarrass them. I want to beat them in our leagues. I want to beat them in the GOAT leagues that we're in together, the industry folks. And I want to have trophies. I want to have money. Sorry. That's what I have to do.
And I've lived through this. I've been playing fantasy sports for over 20 years.
Yep.
And again, you have to be able to separate the two, or you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. And if you're fine with that, that's cool. I do want to take one more thing on Watson, good friend of the show and very, very supportive YouTube follower, Mike Kinney. I don't understand why Watson would be suspended this year. He wasn't suspended last year with not enough evidence. What new evidence is there? It's called the Roger Goodell hammer, Mike. Roger Goodell, for any reason that he thinks you have tarnished the shield, can give you a suspension. Charges were dropped against Ezekiel Elliott, 6 games. Charges were dropped against Big Ben, 6 games. I think Kareem Hunt pleaded down to a misdemeanor, 8 games. It really has less to do about the law and more about dragging the NFL as an NFL player into the limelight in a negative fashion. So that's why. He doesn't need you to be charged. He's Roger Goodell. He could say, "I don't like your shoes," and you're suspended.
And,
because
those he things definitely happen. Fines him for that.
There is rules. I want to get into Baker. Unfortunately, if you have a lot of Baker, you are taking a bath. You are taking an L. I said earlier on Twitter, the best thing that could happen for his dynasty GMs is for Baker. So if Watson suspended the first 6 or 8 games this year, for Baker, the best thing you could do is show up, be a good teammate in camp, play the first 6 to 8 games, repair your image, say the right things. Hey, I'm here to help get this team in a position to get into the playoffs. Ironically, if it was a 6 to 8 game suspension, that would be right around the time of the NFL trade deadline. And at any point, if the Rams lost Matt Stafford, the Bills lost Josh Allen, the Rams lost I'm drawing a blank, Matt Stafford, the Bucs lost Tom Brady. Don't you think there would be a knock on Cleveland's door going, "Hey, we'd love to inquire about Baker for the rest of the season. Then you could go maybe help get a playoff caliber team into the playoffs. Maybe not win a Super Bowl, but you could certainly help, because guess who's going to be a free agent next year? Baker Mayfield. He's playing on the 5th-year option. So for Baker, basically hold, Jerry, you traded for him today. What are your thoughts?
I think he's going to end up being a starting quarterback in the NFL, whether it's this year or into the future. I don't think this dude has been bad enough to just not get a job. So it was an easy, and I traded away. I mean, there was other pieces in the deal, don't get me wrong, but Marcus Mariota was the quarterback I gave up, and I don't give a tinker's fuck about Marcus Mariota.
Well, that's a great example. America loves a reclamation project, especially as one as polarizing and popular as Baker. Think about all the commercials the guy's been in. You know, Sam Darnold got a second chance. You just talked about Marcus Mariota is going to get a third chance because he's already had a second chance in Las Vegas, kind of. Sam Darnold. There's a Deshaun Watson, even though he's really good, it's similar but different. These guys, even Josh Rosen, Miami took a shot on him.
Yeah.
Jared Goff. Someone will give Jameis Winston. Someone will give him a second chance. He may have to eat a little humble pie in 2022, but there's going to be an injury. There's going to be a team that's going to need a quarterback, and Baker will get another shot at that. If you got Baker, mothball him, put him on your bench. It's going to hurt. It's going to sting. If you can get him super dirt cheap as like a 4th or 5th quarterback on a super flex startup, that's awesome. Think about last year, or even like 3 years ago when I was out scooping up all that Ryan Tannehill when he was the backup to Marcus Mariota. And then all of a sudden, there was a time like 2 years ago and last year, people were taking Ryan Tannehill as a top 10 option in Superflex startups. Yep. So just because he's down now doesn't mean he'll be down forever. And when someone's down, it's a great time to buy.
Correctamundo.
So I'm looking to get cheap Baker Mayfield. I'd give a second in a Superflex, like a mid-second.
Yep.
Probably
like 202. I'd go up it depending what I need. If you're going to get a starting quarterback,
I would say
what do you
206 for me.
Listen, I'd rather do that. But like if I need, maybe I have like in the team I have him, I'm pretty sure it's this league. I have Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance, 2 very, very big unknowns. And now Marcus Mariota, I don't give a crap about. So in that situation, I didn't give up the 202, but if I would have had it straight up and somebody would have offered it, I probably would have taken it just because I definitely think I need 3 sort of quarterbacks in that range. But there are situations, I will say that.
I would agree in that case because one of your guys is Trey Lance. Tweet came out today that the local beat reporters are not even sure he's going to be ready. It's not even a guarantee that Jimmy Garoppolo is not starting week 1 for San Francisco. So
true.
In that case, not a bad play. So I want to move on to some, I guess. So I want to talk about Matt Stafford real quick, 90 seconds. So I've signed one of the quietest extensions you'll ever hear over the weekend. If the Rams hadn't tweeted it out, nobody would have known. And I think that's the difference between Matt Stafford and a guy like Aaron Rodgers. And I love Stafford because of his age. He's 34 years old, just signed an extension. I moved him back into my top 12 in a startup. I play in 3-year windows. I would love to tell you that the upside of a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance isn't tantalizing. But what the hell? I'll just take boring old plays with Jared Goff, Allen Robinson. Maybe they'll get Odell Beckham back. They got Tyler Higbee. They got their head coach and play caller back. I'll just stick with boring old 5 to 10 every year QB. Matt Stafford. Am I crazy?
No. Honestly, I think with Aaron Rodgers' contract, that moves him up a ton too. Like I don't know where you had him previously, but
I flip-flopped those too.
In the draft we're doing right now, I took him in the 2nd round. I have him for the foreseeable future, and if I can, like you said, if I have him for the next 3 years, okay, he's going to be productive. That's a hit. And I'm with you with Stafford. Love Stafford. Glad he got the deal. They had to give it to him.
Do you think you'll be able to find another QB in a super flex over the next 3 years?
I mean, yeah.
Stands to reason. So
Yeah.
why can't you start a super flex with Matt Stafford?
Yeah.
You know,
I think you're happy if you get Matt Stafford because he's the guy you take as your QB2, or maybe you were at the back end and you didn't get a quarterback and
you
he's
missed the
your
big
QB1.
run of young
Yeah,
hotness.
you're still happy if he's your QB1.
I mean, he's going to perform like one.
Yep.
Love it. Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, anything in there?
I mean, if you have them, you're happy.
This is the Baker corollary.
I picked up Marcus Mariota, whenever the hell I don't even know when it was. And I just ended up, I got more pieces than Baker Mayfield, but it put me in a situation where I could trade for pieces that I wanted. And if you're in a QB desperate situation, at least you have a guy. You have a QB4 that you can throw in case of an injury or a bad matchup or whatever you want. You're happy about it.
Of the two, I'd rather have Jameis Winston. He got a real contract.
I agree.
He got 2 years, $28 million. When you look at Mariota's contract, it's really a 1-year deal for about $7 million bucks.
Yeah, it's not much.
And there's a real world where they could draft Malik Willis at 108, and Marcus Mariota gets shit canned real quick. But this is why, you take those previous highly drafted QBs. Mitch Trubisky is another guy.
Yeah.
I got paid off, and it's kind of the same deal. Mitch, like a 2-year deal, making like $20 million bucks or less. So there's no real locked into him.
Nope.
But for right now, he's a starting quarterback for Pittsburgh Steelers. So this is why you don't mind picking up the Bakers, the Sam Darnolds.
Correct.
Sometimes you get lucky and you get a Jameis Winston who's going to be on a pretty decent offense with some pretty decent pieces. And then sometimes you get Sam Darnold, which was on a pretty decent offense with some pretty decent pieces and played like shit. And you're going to have that sometimes, but that's why you do it.
But he may get another chance. He could be that guy in 2 more years.
He's the guy who could come in. He's the guy who could get traded. I want to reference that Peter King thing again. He was like a great trade would be the Panthers send Sam Darnold and maybe like a 4th to the 49ers for Jimmy Garoppolo. He could back up Trey Lance. They play a similar-ish game, and Jimmy Garoppolo could start for the Panthers. And I was like, that's not a bad idea.
Nope.
But that's the mediocre QB news. I do want to talk about Matty Ice. Matt Ryan traded to my Colts. Jerry texted me right away and said, you got to like that.
Yeah, you do.
How do you not? How do you not?
I mean, he's better than Carson Wentz.
He's better than Phil Rivers was 2 years ago.
That's what I mean. Like, that was honestly, I don't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. We were sitting here and we were sort of crapping on the Colts and how they had handled this situation.
I mean, I didn't like the move.
Doing one of the better jobs just because they're going to get him for cheap. He's still good, and they have a good team. You're happy about it for Michael Pittman. Like, what do you want? They did good.
Well, first of all, this is where being a Colts fan will help pay off. But from Matt Ryan, from a dynasty perspective, I really didn't move him much.
No,
he might have bumped up a spot or two. But I love this for Michael Pittman, and here's why. The Colts need a cornerback. They just traded one to get Yannick Ngakoue from the Raiders. They don't have a first-round pick. I can tell you right now that second, pick they got, the pick flip, I think it's 42 or 43 overall from the Commanders. I feel like that's going to be used on a corner. Not to say that they may not draft a wide receiver in the 3rd round, but I don't think they're going to draft anyone that's going to be a real threat to Michael Pittman. Yep. They still may, scrape the bottom of the barrel. And Odell Beckham did tweet the Dynasty WarZone admin, Neil Gray, awesome guy. He saw that OBJ tweet and he was like, oh my God, Memphis, it's happening. OBJ to the Colts. I'm like, please no. But it's huge. And I think the name, if you play tight end premium, is Kylan Granson. He will cost you next to nothing. Same thing. They signed Mo Alley Cox as the blocking / red zone-ish tight end, but the move tight end, now that Jack Doyle retired, is Kylan Granson. And Matt Ryan in his career has done good things for the tight end. That offense, the way that Frank Reich constructs it, does good things for the tight end. There are worse darts you can throw in a tight end premium dynasty league than Kylan Granson.
I'm with you. I loved the move. I loved it.
All right, well let's go to the big wide receiver move. We're going to talk about some smaller ones here in a second with some bets, but Davante Adams going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Got a huge payday. He had no intention of signing with Green Bay. They were going to offer the same-ish money. But what did this do to everybody involved? Start with the two quarterbacks and then go to Adams himself.
I think Rodgers will probably be fine. He'll take a hit for sure because, he's just a supreme talent and he's going to find the end zone. As far as Carr is concerned, how do you not like it? Like, he was already extremely disrespected, like outside of Kirk Cousins, probably the second most disrespected quarterback, and he's exponentially cheaper than Kirk Cousins. This only boosts him. And if I got to hear Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow went to college together and they played one season and that's why their rapport is great, why don't you go ahead and look up what Davante Adams and Derek Carr did at Fresno State? Those guys, there's a reason he picked the Raiders. And it's because of the rapport he has with Carr and their past.
Already lived in the same neighborhood as Derek Carr, from what I understand.
So what do you think? You think they're going to bring him in? You're going to bring in a supreme talent like that at wide receiver?
I think it was good for everybody.
No way. Oh, absolutely.
Good for everybody but Aaron Rodgers. I actually think this hurts Aaron Rodgers. I will tell you.
It does. I don't think it hurts him a ton, but it definitely does hurt.
Based on age, the fact that he lost Adams and Matt Stafford got a contract extension, I flip-flopped them. One spot each. I moved Stafford one, based on age, and I moved him. He got new weapons, and Aaron Rodgers has got Robert Tonyan, a couple of running backs, and Amari Rodgers. Now they'll draft rookies. Maybe they get into a bidding war for Odell Beckham, but my fears. Think back a couple of years ago when Aaron Rodgers, before they brought in LaFleur, the new head coach, the last year of McCarthy, how disengaged he was. Man, if he doesn't come out motivated, this could be bad for him. I think it's good for Carr. I think it does hurt Adams. I'm sorry, you're not getting that target. You're not getting that target share in Vegas with Waller, with Renfro, with the way that this offense will utilize the running backs in the passing game.
Carr is the big winner for sure.
Carr is the big winner. I think it's a bit of a step down for Adams. And I think the biggest loser in this is Rodgers. I know Rodgers is Rodgers, but we seem to forget, and to his credit, he's had 2 MVP seasons back-to-back. But I think we forget about what he looked like a couple of years ago in that final year with McCarthy. Yeah. Disinterested, disengaged, and they've lost a lot more talent than they've kept. And, I will they probably win the NFC North? Probably. But they don't have to. I mean, they lost a lot of pieces to get that money, to get all those contracts done. And, it's not good. So for Adams, slight tick down, Rodgers, a tick down, and a big tick up for, by the way, a guy that I think is one of the more disrespected QB1s because he plays around that 10 to 14 range. That's a back-end QB1 that you can get for almost QB3 prices. It's goddamn ridiculous how cheap Derek Carr is.
Correct.
Criminal.
When you're drafted in the second round, it's like people just will never give you a shot.
Well, I think it's the eyeliner, Jerry, to be honest. I think it's the eyeliner and the weird pictures of him on Twitter. I have 3 other
looking like the bad kid in Toy Story.
Yeah. I mean, like he's gonna throw Buzz and Woody across the field. 3 other pieces of we'll play wide receiver. You pick them.
Okay.
Bobby, well, how about this? We'll just turn it into an impromptu game of keep, trade, cut. You got Bobby Trees going, Bobby Woods, Robert Woods traded to Tennessee. You got Juju Smith-Schuster signing a 1-year deal in Kansas City. And you have Adam Thielen staying in Minnesota on a reworked contract, Jerry. Keep, trade, cut.
I think I'm keeping Adam Thielen because I think he is going to be the most productive of the group and definitely the cheapest to acquire.
I'm keeping him for those. Thank you. And not only that, you would get the least for him in a trade.
Yes.
And his production, you would never cut that kind of production.
I am trading Juju Smith because he is a wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. and he's relatively young, so he definitely has seen a spike in value. And I'm cutting Bobby. Nothing against Bobby. You're competing with AJ Brown, and I don't love Ryan Tannehill, and
I wish we disagreed, but we don't. Juju, doing TikToks with Jackson Mahomes, famous. People are excited.
It's not what is he going to do? He's going to compete with Travis Kelce in that range of the field. He's not going to win that.
It's the Allen Robinson conversation all over again. The best case scenario is he's the third banana behind Kelce and Hill.
Yep.
I mean, I know it's a good offense, but as I was calling Juju Smith, Sammy Watkins, Schuster.
Yep.
Remember when Sammy Watkins was going to go there and break out and didn't?
Oh yeah. It's a good move for them.
I've seen this movie before.
It's just like the Allen Robinson thing. It's good for Kansas City. It's good for Patrick Mahomes. It helps Patrick Mahomes for sure. For Juju though, he's in a better situation than he was. Don't get me wrong. If you've been holding on to Juju, which I definitely have a few shares.
Is it better or is it the same? Because he was still the third banana behind Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson.
Production-wise, I think it is the same, but narrative-wise and trade-wise, from the hive mind that is Dynasty, it got better. So I think you gained trade value.
And for me, Bobby Trees, talking about a soon-to-be 30-year-old wide receiver coming off of an ACL that really is going to a low volume. He's going from a high volume passing offense to one of the lower volume passing offenses. You know that with Mike Vrabel as the head coach, you're going to get run the ball, play defense. Derrick Henry will be back. Now, part of it was injury for Julio Jones. Another 30-something wide receiver come in there with great fanfare. At least this time they only gave up a sixth versus a second they gave up for Julio Jones to cut him after 1 year. But yeah, I'm on Thielen. Thielen, if you're a contender, he's a guy that no one's paying attention to. And come rookie draft season, if you're on the clock at like the 211, the 301,
I literally had 210 in my head.
The 303. You just throw that at the Adam Thielen GM and be like, thank you. Yeah. I'll just go compete now. And
there's going to be somebody on the clock who ran a 4.3 or a 4.4.
Giddy.
He's 34 years old, or however the hell. He's not that old, but
all right. So this game was so much fun. Let's do it again. Tight end edition. Austin Hooper picked up by the same Tennessee Titans. Gerald Everett signs a 2-year deal with $8 million guaranteed with the LA Chargers. Didn't go back to the Rams. And then O.J. Howard. You know what? We'll screw O.J. Howard. We'll just throw Evan Ingram in there. Signed a 1-year, $9 million deal with the Jags. So keep trade cut. Hooper, easy for me to say. Hooper, right. Everett, and Ingram.
I'm keeping Everett because I get Justin Herbert. And we saw what Hunter Henry can do. And even if he's not Hunter Henry, hell, we saw Donald Parham do some stuff. So I'm going to keep him. I'm going to trade Evan Ingram just because he was a first-round pick at some point. He's got name recognition, excuse me. And I as much as I hyped up Austin Hooper, his year of relevance, I'm good. We're talking same reasons, that we just talked about for Bobby Trees. He's like the fourth option on that offense. So that's what I would go. I am excited about Gerald Everett, though. Now, I've been excited about Gerald Everett, so take that with a grain of salt, of course. But what you got?
Well, I'm going to go a little bit different in that I'm going to trade Gerald Everett for the exact same thing you said.
Okay.
You said Justin Herbert. Last year I got my panties got a little, taut because he got hooked up with a guy named Russell Wilson.
Yep.
There's thoughts that the Chargers could add a rookie wide receiver. I already like Josh Palmer, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler catches a bunch of balls out of the backfield. So I'm going to sell you that narrative that, hey, Gerald Everett's got old Justin Herbert. And then I'm actually going to cut Evan Ingram.
No kidding.
I'm
Okay.
gonna keep Austin. How many games, if you play DFS or if you bet props, how many times did Jeff Swaim and Anthony Ferkser have a game where they would, be serviceable? Now, I think Austin Hooper comes in. I think he winds up being the number 2 in this offense, not Bobby Trees. And he's a guy who
That's pretty spicy, Randall.
I think he's the cheapest. Well, here's why.
He's definitely the cheapest.
Because he doesn't have the draft capital of Evan Ingram.
No.
He
doesn't have the Jonnu Smithness of Gerald Everett either.
Exactly. Well, Gerald Everett has the athletic profile, but here's the thing: Austin Hooper was a bigger disappointment than Evan Ingram. I think Evan Ingram's been disappointing longer, and I think after that big year in Atlanta and then signing that big money deal with Baker Mayfield, who quote unquote used the tight end a bunch in college. You know what? No shit. You'd use a tight end too a bunch in college if your tight end was Mark Andrews. Weird how that happens.
Yeah, right.
But I think you get a better discount on Austin Hooper because his previous or current GM has been more disappointed longer. So there you go. So let's do this one more time. Impromptu game. Keep, trade, cut. Rashad Penny signed a 1-year deal with the Seattle Seahawks. Uncle Lenny, Lombardi Lenny, re-signed a 3-year deal in Tampa Bay. And the surprising signing he might be the entire offense behind Kyle Pitts in Atlanta, but Cordarrelle Patterson returning to Hotlanta, 2-year deal with the Falcons. So keep, trade, cut Rashad Penny, Uncle Lenny, and Cordarrelle Patterson does not have a name that ends in any.
Oh, that's true. It sucks because, these signings were all great for these dudes. Like, all 3 of these signings, like, as far as if you were holding on to any of them and hoping for something, you got exactly what you wanted. This one's tough. I'll give you that. My heart says to keep Lenny. I always want to do keep first. Which guy do I want to trust for the longest? And I think it's going to be Lenny, not only because he's got the 3-year deal. I just think he's a better running back than the other 2. I am going like this one, though. Like, who has more trade value? Cordarrelle Patterson is 31 years old. Rashad Penny.
This might be the easiest one. You're blowing
it.
Yeah. The trade is Rashad Penny. How many championships did this?
How many people actually like Rashad Penny?
Did this 12 sandwich eating, Cheeto stuffing, Mr. Puddinbelly win people coming off the couch in a 4-game sample? That's all they remember.
I agree, but I think everybody else
to the moon.
I think everybody is skeptical of him. So that's why I don't know. I guess everybody's skeptical of Cordarrelle Patterson too.
All I know is up until he got injured last year, I think it was like week 15-ish, Lombardi Lenny was a top 5 running back in fantasy. Why would you not keep Lombardi Lenny? I'm easily selling Rashad Penny. I'm gonna say
listen. We're playing a game, but for
and you're losing.
Advice, I'm selling both of them. I'm selling Penny and Patterson.
You can't sell Patterson.
Why?
Because you ever been so drunk that
he was like RB5 and wide receiver 5 last year. Like, I can definitely sell him.
It's not how you start, Jerry. It's how you end. It's not how you start. It's the last. It's the last. It's like a in boxing.
Like if Chris Carson went off into the sunset, then I would say
he's
absolutely
still
sure.
there.
But the moment Chris Carson is there and it's going to be frustrating, Penny's value is going to go right back to the way it was.
You ever watch boxing or UFC at all?
Not really.
Okay, at the end
have
of
you seen these biceps? They are not built for fighting.
They look just like a bicep, only smaller. But at the end of every MMA round or at the end of every boxing round, you see a little flurry, because at the end of the round is when the judges write down the score of their round. And that last 30 seconds, 45 seconds is when you want to make your most memorable impression, which is the last 20, 25% of the round. What was
Penny was a killer.
And Penny left the best impression of the judges, or in this case, your fellow Dynasty GMs, and he's going to get you the most. So if I can move Penny, I'll give you Penny in the 204 for the 110. I'll just move up 6 spots in a super flex draft.
I'll give you Penny in the 201 for the 110, but
I'm not a Penny guy.
I am a Penny guy, but like I don't know how you could rely on him. Like this is like Devontae Parker was 2 or 3 years ago. Remember when he finally like came out and scored 8 touchdowns and had
the way you said that, the way like he finally came out, I was like, where's he going with this? All right, well, I'm going to end this with one thing about Rashad Penny. Are you ready?
Yep, go ahead.
I'm telling you, Rashad Penny is the biggest Fugazi RB2 in Dynasty that you will see.
Fact. I'm not going to argue that.
All right, we're going to jump into our final segment. Jerry and I are going to give you some of our Dynasty winners and losers from this free agency period, and that is brought to you by Hate Brand Goods. They recently launched an app. Go to the App Store, search HVIII. You'll find it. You no longer have to find it on the web. They still have a place for you to use the promo code Memphis at checkout. You'll save money at checkout, and it's so much easier to shop than using the browser on your phone. So head over there. You can get yourself a Kick Today in the Dick coffee mug. You can get a nice hoodie. I'm going to get Jerry like a Hate Brand trucker hat. They have dad hats that he can wear backwards. Jerry is kicking it old school. Great T-shirts. Wore one to the gym today. The Give 'em Hell line, and good stuff. And you're supporting a small businessman and a 2-time Highland Games world champion. So go download the app. Just go to your app store, Google Play or iTunes. I guess it's iTunes. Is it iTunes on the app? I don't know. It's Apple. Go to the Apple App Store, whatever the hell.
I'm a Samsung guy.
Search HVIII. You won't get confused. It'll be the only one. You download it, and when you pick something up, you use promo code Memphis. All right, Jerry, let's get into a winner. Give me a winner. Who is a winner in free agency from a Dynasty perspective for one Gerald Sinclair?
James Conner. Easy as could be. That was a guy that was absolutely left for dead. And he showed up, and I was ready to be done with him. Honestly, even as a James Conner fan, last season I was promoting wait for the big games, sell him off. And then this dude comes out. Not only do they get rid of Chase Edmonds, they sign him to a 3-year deal, $7 million a year, which is not nothing for somebody of his age at the running back position in the NFL today. Do I think they'll bring somebody in at some point or probably draft a later round guy? I do. But you had to be happy if you have James Conner. Like I think he was one guys that really boosted their value just because he was on the cliff of, depending what happens this offseason, either James Conner falls off the face of the earth and is no longer even relevant to dynasty lineups, or he's a good flex option, pretty darn good RB2. Thoughts on Jimmy, and what do you got?
Jimmy, you
don't love him, but you can't.
I don't love him, but you can't get away from him.
Nope.
But if you're not a contender, I highly recommend getting off the James Conner Express. Because he got through the year last year and had all those beautiful, sweet, sexy touchdowns, does not mean that that's repeatable, and it doesn't mean that his health is as sustainable as it was last year.
That goes for every running back in his age group.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with my first winner. He wears orange. He played in the Super Bowl. Stripes on his helmet. He has swag. It is Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow, and intrinsically his running back, Joe Mixon. Huge offensive line upgrades. They picked up Alex Kappa, Ted Karras, and Leal Collins. So literally you've upgraded 60% of that offensive line. You didn't break the bank to do it. And they have him a tight end. And I don't love this guy, but I don't think it's a downgrade from some CJ Uzoma, and they picked up Hayden Hurst. So for me, a huge winner from a dynasty standpoint. He's a guy I have as my dynasty quarterback 6, Joe Burrow. Big winner in free agency. And ironically, my running back 6, Joe Mixon. But if I had Jamar Chase 6, it would be 666. Hello, Satan. But I don't. I have Jamar Chase number 2. Jerry, what do you think about Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon? We'll call them co-winners for me.
Listen, I'm a very big Mixon guy, as you are well aware. We're going to talk about our trade later. Let's just say Joe Mixon is involved. Big fan, loved it. As far as another winner, though, this is a guy that you certainly are not the biggest fan of his historical value compared to his production. A person that I had to learn the mistake that just because everybody talks about him a bunch when he's a rookie does not necessarily mean he's going to be elite, like someone like Jamar Chase. And that's Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was well on his way to being a sort of like Robert Woods. Like, he's productive, but he's not awesome. But I think he's in a very good situation now. Like, I don't love Cleveland, don't get me wrong, but he no longer has to compete with CeeDee Lamb, who is a bad MFer. He still has an elite quarterback, and he doesn't have competition there. Donovan Peoples-Jones is fine, and they'll probably add somebody. Jarvis Landry's not there anymore either. You got Austin Hooper's gone now. I mean, it's tough to say he didn't gain because of this free agency. So I don't know how many Amari Cooper shares I have. I know there's at least a couple out there, but I'm happy for them, and it actually makes me more inclined to not want to get rid of him, as to where 3 weeks ago I was actively trying to get rid of Amari Cooper for any name value that I could. You're a Watson guy. Do you think that it's really going to help Amari Cooper? I think leaving CeeDee Lamb is actually better than getting Watson, because he already had Dak Prescott, who's a badass in his own right.
Amari Cooper really didn't. I think Watson's
didn't tickle your fancy.
He's a slight bump up from Dak, although I do like Dak more than most. I think Dak is very consistent, and I like consistent people. But Marcus Mosier, who is a great follow on Twitter, he posted these indoor-outdoor splits for Amari Cooper, and he just does not do as well outdoors. I just weigh everything. For me, Amari wasn't a loser. He wasn't a winner. I do like the additional target share. I don't love the indoor-outdoor splits. I like the slight upgrade at QB. I don't know what else is going on. So for me, he was a push. My other winner, Jerry, he is leveling up. I mean, I can't say enough things about Javonte Williams except this. Remember all those people go, well, what if they sign Melvin Gordon? Apparently Melvin Gordon, even if he comes back, is an afterthought. This is not 1997 football anymore. We no longer have running backs who get 38 carries a game because the game's played different. But as we sit here today, he had one of the best off seasons of anybody in the league. Why? Because with Russell Wilson at the quarterback and not Teddy Two Gloves or Drew Lock, and now Russell Wilson can help unlock this offense. You think Rashad Penny was something in Seattle? Mister, wait until Javonte Williams gets the lion's share, not the whole share, like that 60-65% of all the touches in the backfield in Denver. It is absolute rocket ship. He is my RB4 in a startup. I love this sweet. Also wears orange, by the way, like Joe Burrow. Big fan, Jerry. Now, you know I love Javonte Williams. You like Javonte, not as much as me. What are your thoughts?
I agree. It's like you said. Like, I'm not the guy that falls in love with him. Dude is there's no way, even as a person that doesn't love the dude and think he's like this unbelievably supreme talent, what am I going to do? Keep him outside the top 8? Like, I don't think I can. And in that case, that's a star. Period. So you want me to do one more winner?
No, you only get 2. I want losers. It's time for losers. Okay. Hold on, Jerry. If you're going to talk losers, let's just go this. They can't all be winners, kid. Who was a loser?
Who was a loser?
I mean, I have a loser ready if you want a minute to think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to go right back to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Lost arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL, his homie, who ironically thanked a lot of people in groups, and he did thank teammates, but he did not thank Aaron specifically in his Instagram post on the way out. This is a team that was the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs, and they've lost Zadarius Smith. They've lost, or at least not re-signed, Rasul Douglas. They lost Oren Burks, Equinemius St. Brown. They did re-sign Robert Tonyan, but this is a team that's lost a lot of talent. And I think this is what happens when you go for the bag, as the kids say. I try not to say it, but, he got paid, but that comes at a cost. And the cost is having Amari Rodgers, as we sit here today. You have Amari Rodgers as your wide receiver 1, and I guess Robert Tonyan's your wide receiver 2, receiving option 2. All this makes me think that we're all probably a little bit too low right now on Aaron Jones, especially for redraft in 2022. But I think Aaron Rodgers was one of my 2 losers. How about you?
Yeah.
Did you find a loser?
Well, I had Robert Woods, but then we talked about him for a while, so I wasn't going to rehash that. I think I'm going to say Chase Edmonds, because they just signed Raheem Mostert. I still think they're going to draft one. He didn't get a ton of money. He didn't get a great contract, and he was a guy that had a chance, sort of like James Conner. Like, there was a chance that James Conner went to a position like that, and Chase Edmonds was the guy in Arizona. And then I would have said, okay, he's one of my winners. He's got a good spot. I don't know. It sucks because I really wanted Chase Edmonds to be a guy. It just, that situation is too muddy. It's a new situation. He's never been a workhorse. I have to say Chase Edmonds, just because he was one of those guys that he was close. He was on the threshold, just like James. Like, this offseason was the decider of which trajectory his dynasty value was going. And I don't think you could make an argument that it went up.
Okay. So
I mean, you're not a huge Edmonds guy either.
I'm not. I think a lot of people in the dynasty space have been trying to make him a thing, and he'll have his moments. But Raheem Mostert being there, as long as for the 6 games he's healthy, he's really gonna dip into that backfield. So I don't think anyone's got.
I think they're going to draft someone too.
I do too, and I really hope it's not someone that we like Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall.
Right.
But I believe they have a stranglehold on this. This next guy that I have as a free agency loser for Dynasty, I dropped him out of my top 12 at the position, is Justin Fields. Now, I'm a guy who I've never been a Justin Fields guy, but god damn, can we help this guy out? For the love of God. I mean, I don't remember, though, it was Laken Tomlinson. The Jets signed Laken Tomlinson. They re-signed Braxton Berrios. They're probably going to add to the offense with some of those picks in the upcoming draft. They've made an investment. The Jaguars signed every B-list wide receiving option available, not named Juju Smith-Schuster, brought in Evan Ingram. An offensive-minded head coach, a proven offensive-minded head coach of that, Doug Peterson. Okay, check. Trey Lance is, that's kind of unfair because he was already, he's that trust fund kid. He's already, getting a Mercedes. He's got a top 5 offensive line, great weapons, great head coach, great offense. So Trey Lance didn't need much.
No.
And here's poor Justin Fields. I don't even like Justin Fields. I've been speculative on Justin Fields the whole time, but Jesus H. Christ, Can we help the guy? Can we get him a lineman? He's got like 2 starters.
Get him
They've got no first round pick. It's Darnell Mooney, Equanimous St. Brown, and Byron Pringle. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you? I mean, him not being successful, supports my speculation of him last year. But I don't want to do it like this. This sucks.
They've done the man dirty.
Are you kidding me?
Argue that. Honestly,
I was already concerned about a first time head coach, defensive-minded head coach, and even though he failed the physical and you got out from under it, your first big move as the GM of the Bears, no first-round pick, your first big move is to sign Larry Ogunjobi to an $80 million contract. What the hell is wrong with you? Well, you have this guy that we have 2 first-round picks invested in, and our first move, our first major transaction with the keys to the Chicago Bear franchise is a defensive tackle. What the hell is wrong with you guys? Help this kid out. For the love of God, can he get some help?
One of the great administrative atrocities that have occurred in recent memory, because outside of drafting Jordan Love and then signing Aaron Rodgers to a 150-year deal when he's already 150, when you just wasted the pick, like you said, you invest 2 picks and you're happy. You're excited to get Justin Fields. And then you do nothing.
It's an offensive league.
Nothing.
Look at. I mean, they're still supporting Justin Herbert. Well, you know what? You had a great season, buddy. Let's get you Gerald Everett. Yeah. Let's bring back Mike Williams. Okay. Hey, you know what? I'm not the world's largest fan, but Patrick Mahomes got Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yep.
Okay. Tua got Mike Gesicki brought back, and they brought him in 2 running backs in Miami. And what did Justin Fields get? Equanimous St. Brown and Byron Pringle. And this makes me sad. The more I say it, the more sad I get.
For him. For
everybody, because I know there's a lot of our listeners that like Justin Fields.
True.
The Bears have a huge following. And you give him this. And good friend of the show, and not just good friend of the show, just a good friend of mine, Nick Whalen, he DM'd me when I said this. I was like, this is professional malpractice on behalf of the Bears' new GM and new head coach. It is the most important position in sports is the QB position. You have one of the worst ran franchises, and right behind them, the Jets, the Jags and the Jets. What are they doing? They're like, you know what? We invested a lot in these 2 guys, Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence. Let's get these guys. And I forgot the Jags signed Brandon Sheriff, the best guard on the market. Okay. So these guys are getting wide receivers. They're getting offensive linemen. And you're going to get Justin Fields killed. This is my biggest loser. It pisses me off. But who is your second loser?
While we are talking about the piss-poor offseason of the New York Football Jets, I am going to say CJ Uzomah, because you went from Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and now you get Zach Wilson and the Jets, Jets. I do think
Dynasty, he got bad. He got paid.
Yeah, he got paid. Oh, yeah. I mean, Hooper got paid too. When he went from Atlanta to Cleveland. Doesn't mean it helped his value at all. And I think CJ Uzomah, who flashes here and there every once in a while. Then last year, you got to see a little bit more of it. And Joe Burrow came into his own a little bit. That offense was moving and grooving. And you leave and you Le'Veon Bell. You absolutely Le'Veon Bell'd it. You left one of the dynamic offenses of which you had a role, maybe not as big a role as Le'Veon did, and you went to, quote, the cinematic masterpiece Big Daddy, the goddamn Jets. Ew. It sucks because he was one of those people that you wanted to jump up and be tight end 10, tight end 9. When you're in the draft and you haven't taken one of those guys and you take a Mike Gesicki, but he sucks every once in a while, so you got to take another one. So you grab someone like CJ so you can, switch hit whenever you need to. And he landed in a poop spot.
Did you say a poop spot?
It was a poop spot.
Well, Jerry, there's a reason why I keep this button on the soundboard. The goddamn Jets. There's a reason why I keep that on the soundboard, is because about once a month they give me a reason to play.
Correct.
The goddamn Jets, Jerry. Well, you know what? I'm glad free agency's mostly behind us. And starting next week, and actually starting this week on Friday, Dallas is going to be here with a rookie rundown edition to take you going into the weekend, Jerry. How about that?
Love it.
And then we'll be back here talking rookies next week and every week until the NFL draft.
God, that is just arousing on levels that I can't even say through the microphone.
I didn't have time to reload it on, it was the line, I believe it was from Men in Black. The new hotness, old and busted. We're done talking about old and busted. We're ready to talk about the new hotness. So next week, we're going to be talking rookies. We're going to be talking the new hotness. But Jerry, anything to add before we take this one in?
No, I think that was a good one, my friend. I think we learned that Lombardi Lenny is the great winner and champion of the world, and bless his sweetheart.
Hey, good for Lombardi. I've had as a dynasty GM, I've had a hell of a free agency season, which means the rookie draft is just going to submarine me bigger than all get out. But we'll discuss that next week. Please head over to YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Leave us a review. Subscribe. Those are great, easy, inexpensive, and by inexpensive, I mean free ways to support the shows. Interaction on YouTube, subscribing, and leaving reviews on Spotify and iTunes. Also a great way to support the show. And if you want to support us with your wallet, you can head over to Patreon. And that doesn't mean you don't get anything out of it. You head over to patreon.com/Dynasty Warzone. We'll get you in the group chat. There'll be opportunities to get in patron leagues and just a whole lot more. Bonus podcast. I did a bonus podcast a couple of weeks ago for the patrons only with Dynasty Rich of the Dynasty Nerds, talking about how he started the brand, how he continues to grow the brand, what motivates him over at the Dynasty Nerds. And then we did talk Dynasty Fantasy Football because he and I are both super passionate about it. And then, of course, Hate Brand Goods. You can go to the Apple or Google App Store. I guess I'm horrible with this. But go to the App Store, search HVIII.com. You download the app, you pick something up, you use the promo code Memphis. That supports us as well. I want to thank everybody in the chat who chipped in on YouTube. But until next time, Jerry, we're going to get out of here. That man's name is Jerry Sinclair. Follow him at JerrySinDWZ. You can follow me at DWZ Memphis. And remember, Jerry, what are we doing here at the Dynasty Warzone?
Mr. Young, here at the Dynasty Warzone, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football.
You heard the man. We'll see you back here real soon with a lot of rookie content. Have a great week, y'all.